see why Morph thinks that 2022 is not Star Citizen's year. Let's check it out. It's a bold statement.
On the whole, the last CitizenCon wasn't the most exciting event in the game's development history, but it still brought with it some...
Okay, wait a second. I wouldn't say it was as exciting as some in the past, but it still had some amazing content in it. They brought about the topic of dynamic server meshing, but I personally think they need to do a lot more in regards to like getting people to understand the obstacles that they are encountering with dynamic server meshing. I did like the dynamic mission system that they've got in place, which is really cool. So that was fun to watch, the different routes that you can take with missioning. So there was quite a bit of information in Star Citizen. We had a great time. We had a great time at CitizenCon, but let's see here.
Good news about the future of Star Citizen with pivotal game systems like server meshing and the features that it'll bring. Like the first new star system we've received in over 6 years since it first went live to the persistent universe in December of 2015. It was such a breath of fresh air after 2 years of lackluster updates with little tangible progress. Finally, a big step forward in progress that we've all been waiting for with a new star system and more players per server. The only question left on everyone's mind was when. And
he's got the entire editorial thing down with the kind of like chilled out like disco music in the background, like hey yeah, da, 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 da.
In typical CIG fashion, we really didn't get an answer, but they said it was close at the very least. Fortunately, or rather unfortunately, we now have some semblance of an answer. You ready? Definitely not in 2022. Probably. The progress tracker, what they now...
Hasn't Morph gotten a lot wrong in the past on these, these predicted... I don't know why people are still listening to Morph when it comes to predictions. He's gotten quite a few things wrong when it comes to his predictions, man.
I want us to focus on was just updated.
Is he out of touch?
That server meshing is approaching completion at the very tail end of 2022.
Listen. The roadmap is a complete community disaster and debacle, and how they treated people was also just terrible. Is a fucking shame what they did. But here's the thing that fucking Cloud Imperium realized. The underlying takeaway from the roadmap was we're tired of fucking doing this. It's self-torture. It's like Chinese water torture with this fucking roadmap. Like it's like a work schedule. If you have your 9 to 5 and you go to it and your bosses have like a plan, a work schedule. I mean, has your work schedule always gone exactly the way you fucking planned it on the fucking thing? like not usually. Usually like Donna or somebody in the office is doing something that kind of delays it or fucks it up a little bit. And that usually happens in any fucking office environment that I've ever been in. Is that excusable what they've done here, considering the amount of money that's invested by us directly? No. But is it going to happen? Absolutely. It happens all the time. It's the real fucking world. Put on your big boy pants. This is the way the fucking world runs. This is what happens. It's part of fucking being an adult. This is what happens all the time.
It's hard to know because the progress tracker is not really a progress tracker, because when something is done on the progress tracker, it doesn't mean it's complete according to CIG. And so all we can really say is that it's not going to be released within the time that it shows that it's being worked on, because it's being worked on. So I can just say it's not coming out in 2022. It's just not happening. And if you're maybe uninformed, CIG's not been the best with time frames, and so it's probably still pretty optimistic. So we're still looking at this going into 2023. And based on what we learned about server meshing and CitCon, we know that server meshing is going to be tested this year, starting with replication layer, which, if it goes well, will allow them to actually test server meshing.
And that's the big crux of it. Server meshing is really fucking important. We all want server meshing, and we know why we want it. Unlimited player cap, the addition of new object containers to continually populate the game with new object containers, making the verse more vibrant, multiple systems, absolutely needs to happen. Always number one at the top of the list here on DG360 has been server meshing. They need to get this solved, and they are working on it. And it's going to take a long time. And it's probably not going to happen this year. It might even not happen next year. And people need to get over that. And people need to take a fucking breath, because that's life. You know, like, look how far this game has come. Look how beautiful it is. Look at what I'm seeing out here. Thank you, Kev. Thank you, Kev. Let us just first acknowledge the fucking amount of work that has been done over these years to get us to the point where we can look out the fucking cockpit and see what the fuck that we're looking at right here, right now. And people were like, still to this day, fucking crying. You're only crying if you've committed so much money that you can't wait for it anymore. And that's your own fault, because you spent way too much more than you could have fucking afford, and you want it done now, right? So maybe just take a goddamn breath and realize this is going to take a long time, roadmap or no roadmap. They didn't even have to put the goddamn roadmap down there. They really didn't, but they're trying to be as transparent as possible. And guess what? The work schedule changes all the fucking time in every fucking business that there is ever been out there. No matter what fucking country you're from, it happens in any fucking corporate day-to-day life. The shit is just normal. It happens.
Later on, but if that doesn't happen, that schedule is going to be extended. And before you get your hopes up, that replication layer is just a component that's required to make meshing work, and it's not actually going to have any effect on gameplay. You're not going to notice any difference when they test it. It's just going to be tested in the background. So, I mean, if it all goes well, which it usually doesn't, we'll see it at the end of Q4, but not in a release. It'll probably be Q1 or Q2 of 2023. Of course, this also means then that we're not getting Pyro this year, as the new star system requires server meshing to work. That and a bunch of other features like persistent hangers, blah, blah, blah. There's a ton of stuff that's being locked behind this, and it's really unfortunate to learn that we can't look forward to it this year. But at least we can get some more gameplay and features and gameplay loops this year, right? I got some more bad news for you. Now, unfortunately, there was a big thing that I missed in the last video I did about that roadmap update that set everyone's hair on fire a couple weeks ago. I don't know how I missed this, but it's probably the most important sentence in the entire thing, and it's buried halfway through. As mentioned in a previous roadmap roundup, as well as on this episode of Star Citizen Live, the core gameplay pillar team has moved to focus exclusively on Squadron 42. Yeah, that's kind of a big deal. I don't know how I overlooked this nugget in the last video, but holy crap, that hit home. When you think about it and you combine that with the next little tidbit,
listen, why is that such a big fucking surprise, and why is that a big deal? I mean, like, honestly, they need to get Squadron 42 out the fucking door. Squadron 42 was originally promised. It was the start of the fucking project. Star Citizen and the PU was an afterthought. Yes, most of us want the PU more than Squadron 42, absolutely. But Squadron 42 was the very origin of their promise. They're trying to make good on their promise, and also they're trying to bank off of Squadron 42. If they bank off of Squadron 42 and Squadron 42 is fucking successful, they take that cash and they reinvest it and apply it towards finishing the PU. Why is that such a big fucking deal? How is that such a problem? When they're focusing on what it is that they promised to get out the door first, that is exactly what it is in the plan of the fucking, I mean, like, that has absolutely always been the plan. Is this new news to Morph? It has always been first. Squadron 42 has always been the first thing that needed to get released. They're not planning on putting the PU out before the fucking game, before Squadron 42. That's not how it's going to go. It's Squadron 42, then it's the PU. Right. Like, why is that such a fucking, like, why does Morph have 190? I don't even understand how, is it the snazzy music? No offense, you know, like, Morph's probably a really cool guy in real life, but, like, how did fucking Morph get 198,000 subscribers not knowing that? Like, that's like the core fucking, isn't that something that a lot of the backers that have been backing a long time, haven't we all known that from the very start? I'm not quite sure. Yeah, his architect reviews are cool, right? I'm not quite sure the knowledge is there when it comes to, you know, the background and the actual scope of the project. You know, I'm not quite sure why that's a big deal.
I'm going to add on. There was an article published by MCV Develop, which is a magazine that interviews and talks to developers and covers developer news in the development industry, where they interviewed Carl Jones, Chief Operations Officer for Cloud Imperium Games, where he said that with regards to Squadron 42, I guess we'll see how long he, Chris Roberts, needs to be over in the UK. It could be 1 or 2 years more to complete Squadron 42. Allow me to assemble this jigsaw puzzle for you if you've not seen the picture that...
Wait. What was that? What was that statement? Hold on a second. I guess we'll see how long he needs to be over. What does that even mean? I guess we'll see how long he needs to be over. But yeah, it could be 1 or 2 years more to... Okay, that is a terrible thing for fucking the COO, which is actually the Chief Operating Officer. Okay, when your COO, like this is the fucking thing that pisses me off. And I talk about the business side of Cloud Imperium quite often. I used to a lot. I used to talk financials a lot. I used to talk about management effectiveness. When I see the COO of Cloud Imperium saying, I guess, or 1 or 2 more years, that shit pisses me off, man. Be direct, be professional. Do not say shit like that because it's negative. Like when I see that fucking makes me pissed off when I see that shit.
Allow me to assemble this jigsaw puzzle for you if you've not seen the picture that it paints yet. Not only are we not getting large content like Pyro or server meshing this year, but we're also not going to be getting any major step forward in gameplay until Squadron 42 is complete.
But it doesn't mean that game development isn't happening. Like, fucking A. Look at 2021, the most subdued year in terms of how everybody viewed progression. Like a lot of content creators did not respect the fact of everything that was accomplished in 2021. Medical gameplay, force reactions, mining improvements, like so many things happened on a gameplay level that were just overlooked by most content creators. And still, I think 2021 was probably one of the most productive years ever. And you never hear any fucking content creators acknowledge it ever, right? Just because we're not going to get Squadron 42 in 2022, and just because we're not going to get dynamic server meshing or maybe even Pyro in 2022 does not mean that game development just grinds to a fucking halt and nothing's going to happen in 2022. I can't, it's going to be hard for me to even watch the rest of this. I'm actually like, this is really just clicky. This feels real clickbaity to me.
Which is at least 1 or 2 years from now. And again, CIG is notorious with optimistic dates. So yeah, 2022 is going to suck for Star Citizen development. Is it completely hopeless though? Probably, but I don't think so.
What the fuck? What the fuck is this shit? Is this content? Like what is this, man? Like I don't agree with his opinions. Like listen, this is obviously like opinion based for him. Like okay, there's some factual things in terms of like the scope of what's going to the project and perhaps like this roadmap of a roadmap that we all don't. I don't agree with these opinions right here. Like he's basically saying since we're not getting dynamic server meshing this year, since we're not getting Squadron 42 this year, everything's going to grind to a halt. There's there will be no game development in 2022, and 2022 is going to suck. Like, wow, really? And look at all the people that left. Like, the crazy thing is like, there are so many Morph fanboys. Like, look at the amount of people that left. We had like 30 people in here, and now we have 12 because like people are like, well, I can't believe that DG is saying bad things about Morph because the sheer numbers of that Morph has. Like, look, Morph has like 198,000 subscribers because it's cool to like Morphologis, like they're part of the Morphologis gang, and how dare I have like a different view. And so like, like a lot of people just left because of course, if he has 198,000 subscribers and I only have like 14,000 subscribers, then Morphologis must be right. Like, right. Morphologis, everything Morphologis says must be more right and more correct because he has more subscribers than DG. Like, that is such bullshit. Ugh, this video's bullshit. This whole video's bullshit.